one of the questions we often get, and really one of the things we see when we're looking at sport, especially recreational sport, are athletes out there wearing glasses. So I get the conversation that I have with a lot of athletes or with a lot of my patients about the benefits of contact lenses versus glasses when it comes to performance. So Keith, why don't you tell me kind of a little bit about the differences in performance between glasses and contact lenses?
So for me, that discussion always comes back to, safety versus performance. Questions from the parents on, how do I protect my kid playing sports? You have a physical device in front of you with sports safe eyewear that protects from fingers and scratches and elbows and things like that. But what we do when we open up the eye with a contact lens is we open up peripheral vision, so we don't have any blockage on the side, from a frame or looking outside of the parameters of a lens, that you're wearing an ophthalmic frame. So for me, there's certainly an advantage from a peripheral vision standpoint to wearing contact lenses. And again, let's face it, there is some protection to having at least that thin piece of plastic against the eye from a corneal abrasion or a fingernail, but certainly not to the extent that we'd have some high velocity, baseball hit the eye. So for me, it's a performance versus safety question, and I think it's a matter of presenting both and talking about it with all the parents and athletes and students that you work with.
There's also a bigger issue as well as far as just unique sports performance. It's peripheral vision, I think, is something that everyone can kind of grasp pretty easily. But one of the things that you don't realize is when you're wearing spectacle lenses, it's a plane of refraction that's separate from your eye. And so anytime that you're not looking through the exact optical center of a pair of eyeglasses, you're getting higher order aberrations and you're not really seeing the world clearly as you can. And you also get warped field anywhere in your glasses besides the optical center. And like I said, that just really never happens, especially in dynamic sport. So for me, wearing eyeglasses during sport, sports goggles are a little bit better, obviously, because they'll give you some peripheral curve and things like that. But
I think the other thing there too is talking about and I think that's a great point, Eric. I mean, there is a physical device in front of your face that collects things like condensation, that fogs up, that we have, playing the sport out in the rain, right? And now you're talking about windshield wipers on your sports glasses, and the sport goggle thing is out for a lot of us sports vision practitioners. Wearing a goggle against the face is just asking for something to fog up and create difficulty. So, I always discuss my eye athletes, we don't use goggles anymore. We use sports glasses, just sort of, to the fact that they look a bit cooler, they're sleeker. They also open things up to some airflow. There's great manufacturers obviously out there that make lenses and frames that will help to resist some of the factors of fogging and those sort of things. But you still have something that's going to collect dust and dirt and rain. And sometimes I think those are other issues that would be better suited with contact lenses, right? So what do you think, Fraser?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is that comes back to what sport, what position you're playing, what the inherent risk is of the sport. I was fortunate enough to be able to do some work with Liberty Sport where we did impact testing, and we shot different types, baseball, softball, soccer ball, all sorts of things at different dress eyewear as well as their protective eyewear, and it was amazing the difference of the performance. So if you're in one of those sports where it's at risk for eye protection, that's why you need it. But I agree with you. For a lot of sports, that peripheral vision, you're limited by the frame of the glasses, right? So the peripheral vision is definitely a big help. So we can compare these back and forth for quite a while, but I think that this is a discussion that our athletes get to have with their doc and to discuss, what's in their best interest.
Well, and I think that's exactly the right way to talk about it too, is that we also have, the psychological part of this, and you kind of forget about that, is that these are athletes, and certainly in youth athletes, they're kids, right? I mean, we have 8, 9, 10-year-old kids sometimes that we're having this discussion with, and I can just speak to it personally as a dad, as a coach. I've been in that discussion from a practitioner standpoint where essentially you say, look, there are glasses and contact lenses, and I've had, the 8, 9, 10-year-old kid on my travel soccer team say, look, I just feel safer behind the glasses, right? I mean, my goalkeeper actually told me that. So I think it's something you still have to ask and talk about and have a frank discussion about both ways. What's the best way to take this? But ultimately, there's something you still have to discuss with the patients, right? You still have to talk to these kids and say, what are you most comfortable in? This is what we can tell you about how they both work. But, from a psychological standpoint, I think that's still a factor too.
Yeah, and I think for the next PROspective, we're going to have a nice discussion on, the benefits of eye protection and